Hello, welcome to the Win911 How-To Instructional Video Series. In this video, we'll be discussing simplicity and how you can bring your alarms over into Win911. To get started, I'll show you the configuration of Win911 and what you need to do to connect to simplicity. Next, we'll be discussing Watchdogs, followed by how you bring your alarms into Win911, which includes both the filters and the point method. To wrap things up, we'll talk about troubleshooting tips using Logviewer. As a prerequisite to this video, it is recommended that you understand tactics and strategies, and if you do not, I recommend going back and watching the instructional video on tactics and strategies. As a reminder, the supported versions of Simplicity are available in the Systems Requirement document listed on the Win911 website. To get started inside of the Win911 configuration tool, you're on the Alarming, Simplicity, Projects tab, and the first thing you'll do is enter project name. Now this is case sensitive and should match what is configured over in Simplicity. This project name is WWTP for Wastewater Treatment Plant. The username and password, Simplicity users can be assigned a password to enhance operational security. If a password is configured for the Win911 user, enter it here. Otherwise, you can leave this field empty. The next field is a health alarm, which is similar to the health alarms in iFix. The health alarm monitors Win911 connection with the project. If the project connection is lost, Win911 will trigger an alarm that can be dispatched to Alarm Notifier. Next up is Watchdogs using the Watchdog tab. With Watchdogs, Win911 is looking for a pulse every so often. In this example here, we're looking for a pulse every 90 seconds. If we do not see a pulse, then we will trigger an alarm. In this example, we have a PLC heartbeat with that pulse, with the point ID or the tag name of wastewater treatment plant heartbeat. When we no longer see this pulse every 90 seconds, we will trigger the strategy called engineers. As a reminder, your strategy is the policies of actions to put in place. This strategy will trigger a tactic or a call out. Now let's go ahead and talk about those alarms and how you can bring them over into Win911. Each SCADA is different, so for simplicity, you can filter your alarms based on certain alarm attributes, including your point IDs, your class names, resource IDs, and class orders. For this purpose of this video, I'll talk about 3 of them, which includes your point ID, your class name, and your class orders, but it will be a similar process for your resource IDs. What we're trying to create here is a catch for these alarms. We create a filter based on those point IDs, class names, resource IDs, and class order rankings. These items are all ANDed together. An example of this would be a pump, or a motor, or a compressor. Any of those items would be caught by this part of the filter. Now once this whole filter catches the alarm, what happens? Where does it go? We take that alarm and we point it to a strategy. Right here, we're using that default strategy, which again is the notify all. But it's recommended you go back and you create your own strategies to point to your own specific call out tactics. On this next slide, I recommend taking a screenshot. This will be used throughout the remainder of the video to talk about some examples. So what I've created here is a couple default alarms. These first alarms here in the red, these are all drive faults, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first filter we will create is a point filter. So we'll filter on the keyword for drive. What happens is the alarm when they go off, we'll take them and we'll point them to our technician strategy, which will then point to a specific call out tactic. Similar process for these wastewater treatment plant tank alarms for the high, we'll take these and we'll point these to the operator strategy. Now this tank is not the same as a point. This will be a different, we're looking for the actual class name that is assigned a class inside of Simplicity for the tank, not the part of the tag name. Finally, I'll show you an example that is a combination of a few of these. This includes the point ID and the class order. So for these alarms that are the COM fault alarms, we'll take these and we'll filter on the COM, and we're looking for a specific class order of a certain range. We'll take these alarms and point them to the engineers. In the first example, we're on the Filters tab inside of the configuration for Simplicity. Those alarms in the red there, we're looking for something with a tag that has the word drive in it. The asterisk for the wildcard is used for anything prior to it or anything after this. So for example, we have wwtp/drive_1, so on and so on. This will look for anything before that or anything after this. When an alarm goes off inside of Simplicity, we'll look with the word drive. We'll take this alarm, we'll point it to the strategy named technicians. So we're actually looking for the point IDs with this word, and they'll trigger a strategy. There's no need to actually import alarms. That feature is not included for Simplicity with Win911. The next example were those orange alarms we had in the middle there. We said we had a specific class name. Similar process, anything with the wildcard asterisk with the tank and wildcard, this will be caught by this specific filter. When an alarm goes off with this specific criteria, it'll be caught by this filter. We'll take that alarm and we'll point it to our operator strategy we predefined. The next example is a combination of these. So these were the green alarms that I showed you in that diagram a few slides back. Now we're looking for a specific point ID with the COM, because it's a COM fault, we have a COM alarm. And we're looking for a specific class order range. If it meets the criteria of both the point ID and the class order range, then this alarm will be caught. When this alarm is caught, it will point to the engineer strategy. There's also the option to add labels to each of these alarms. This is used for more detailed filtering and especially helpful if you're using the advanced license of our software. As you're creating these filters, you'll notice this little message across the top here that says, filters will not be evaluated for simplicity points explicitly defined in Win911. Events will pass through only the first matching filter in the order defined here. As some alarm goes off, we're basically checking for the criteria we defined in these filters. We're going through these filters one by one. We're checking, does the alarm meet this criteria? No. Does it meet this one? No. Does it meet this one? Let's say yes, it does. If it does meet this criteria, then we'll take it and we'll point it to the technician strategy. This technician strategy will point to our call-out tactic, which includes those lists of the people. Now what happens if, say during creation of our filter, we mistype something or we don't have something configured inside Simplicity, and this filter does not catch any of our alarms going off that we thought it would? What happens? Well, as you can see here, I added another filter at the bottom called all alarms. So if it filters through all of these filters, now what happens in the scenario where the alarm filters through all of these alarm filters and is not caught? Maybe we mistyped something. Maybe we didn't configure something correctly in Simplicity. Or maybe something was case sensitive that we thought was not. In this example, I have a filter called all alarms. So if it filters through all these filters and is not caught, the all alarms filter will catch it. Now, I chose to use the do not notify strategy for our catch-all. So if it filters through all these, it'll go to the do not notify. And I'll be showing you using the Logviewer tool how you can use this as a troubleshooting tool. Prior to showing you Logviewer, I'd like to show you the points method. Using the points, you can take a specific tag name or a point and give it a specific easy to read, user-friendly name. So instead of having tank_5, so on, you could have tank high. Using this method, you can take specific points, and instead of using a filter, you can define points individually. However, it is recommended that you use the filter method to catch your alarms because this will be tedious to go one by one to create specific alarm filters. Now let's go back and talk about the troubleshooting tip I said using the Logviewer. So what is Logviewer? Logviewer is a historian type of logger which records all the alarms and events going inside of Win911. We can use this as a tool to see what alarms went off and where did they go to. Did they go to a specific strategy that we thought they were, or did it go somewhere else? This can show you all the status of the alarms, including your active, inactive, or if it has been acknowledged, using these checkboxes or the triangle state. So as these alarms go off, you'll see more information about the status, the name of the point, the source, and the strategy. Going back to the example where I had the alarms rank order for our engineers, our operators, and our technicians strategies, at the bottom there we had the all alarms do not notify. So if our alarms filtered through all those strategies, it was caught by the do not notify strategy. So for example, if this alarm went off and was caught by do not notify, then we would know that it filtered through all of our alarm filters and was caught, meaning that we need to go back and reevaluate our alarms and how we're bringing them into Win 911. That's all, and thank you for watching our Win 911 How to Instructional video series.